Thank you, Daniel. Look, it's most encouraging, of course, to have a young man like you giving your time as you are, because you are the people who are going to be the ultimate victims, and I'm delighted to see young people here. The two women, the women in all of this, I've done this virtually all over Australia, and I don't think this is not a political gathering, because both major political parties across Australia have been an absolute and utter disgrace.
Right.
So there's no other way of arguing. We're talking here about coal seam gas licences and open cut coal mining licences and longwall mining licences. They were granted those licences by the Labor government.
Yeah. Boo.
So, because they were all broke, and I'll come to Queensland in a moment. They were all broke. So O'Farrell then got a massive majority because of the public mood, and because he said on the eve of the election, O'Farrell, the next Liberal National Government will ensure that mining cannot occur in any water catchment area, and will ensure that mining leases and mining exploration permits reflect that common sense. No ifs, no buts, a guarantee.
Yay.
What a joke.
The guarantee hasn't been worth 2 bob. To be fair to O'Farrell and Baird and Roberts, who is trying to do something, these licences have been so structured that massive compensation will have to be paid by the government, by the taxpayer, if these licences are revoked. My argument is, well, explain that to the taxpayer and they'll agree. I will just say as an aside, Jess and Julie, there is one other thing that's going for us, which is an awful thing to say, and that is the markets are looking after us. The oil price has collapsed, and while the oil price collapses and oil continues to become a viable source of energy, then all this money in coal seam gas is unaffordable. So Santos and AGL and Co are a very significant commercial trouble.
Right.
I couldn't think of it happening to nicer people. Just in relation to the urgency of this, which is phenomenally urgent, we've only got a window of 4 weeks. We had in Queensland, if I just might explain to you, the most arrogant government I've ever witnessed, a Liberal National Party government. And everyone knows that I worked for a Liberal National Party government in Canberra as a speechwriter for a Prime Minister. I'm not interested in that. It's policies that matter, not people. And Newman thought that he could handle all of this. He didn't have to worry about Jones. And we stomped the state, and I broadcast live, and he had 78 seats out of 89. He's now out of government.
Right.
I merely appealed, we appealed, and Drew and the Lock the Gate people were brilliant. We appealed to people, and your problem really is how do you get a simple message to everybody? And my simple message to the Queenslanders in all of this was, you've only got a modest opportunity. And the modest opportunity is, you've got a pencil and a piece of paper inside the polling booth. You've asked these people to listen. You've asked these people to consider the community. You've asked these people to respond to letters when mothers in Tara, with their children bleeding from the ears in the middle of a coal seam gas field, have had no response from government. You've asked them. So all you have to do when you go into the booth is get the piece of paper and the pencil and modestly stick them at the bottom, which is what they've done, and they lost 38 seats and they're out of government.
Right.
And it couldn't have happened better. It is the ultimate humiliation. Now, Julie made a very, very valid point, because it'll be thrown up at you, and that is, well, come on, what are you carrying on? There's always been mining here. And you're absolutely right, Julie. It's entirely different. This is really sophisticated, high industrialised mining, and I think Jess made that comment about you finish up with an industrial wasteland. Now, my father, I came from the Darling Downs, and we were in drought and all the rest of it. My father left home because we were broke and we weren't going to sell, and he got a job in a mine. And oddly enough, it was at Ackland, the mine, which I've had the brawl with Newman about. But he worked in an underground coal mine. He went 3 miles underground, and he dug coal with water up to his waist. And the agriculture, the farms continued on above. There was no interference whatever. Now, of course, in have come New Hope, No Hope, coal, and they've taken all of these farms, all of this prime agricultural land, and it's open-cut coal mines for miles and miles and miles, a complete wasteland. And, of course, the toxification of all of this. The coal's not covered, the trucks are not covered, the coal's not washed. And I go to Glenys Hammond on the John Darian Road, and Glenys says, come into the house, Alan, my property's worth nothing. I'm right next to that coal mine. And she said, put your hand on the second shelf of the refrigerator. I put it on the second shelf of the refrigerator, go like that, my hand's pitch black. Like, we are in very, very serious territory here. And I don't care that there's 50 or whatever people. Look, there are thousands on our side. The difficulty is getting this simple message across. And the simple message in Queensland is this I gave, and I say it again. Don't beat around the bush. This is a mining invasion.
Yay.
This week, we've had the story about Australians being poisoned by packaged cherries or raspberries. I don't know. They are just bloody rubbish anyway from China. Now, this is stuff that China won't eat. Why won't China eat it? Because it has been watered from their polluted dams and rivers and reservoirs. They are buying, and we can't supply it. The bulk of the exported raspberries come from New South Wales. China are buying our stuff because it's fresh, green and clean. China are exporting in cans and tins and frozen packets their stuff, which has been watered in polluted rivers and dams and streams. China are have the greatest sales of bottled water in the world because they won't drink the stuff that comes out of their rivers and dams and reservoirs. And their polluted rivers and dams and reservoirs water the fruit and vegetables that are packed in tins, and Woolworths and Coles and Aldi stick on the shelves and poison Australians. You know, there is a culpability here amongst many people involved in behaviour that is detrimental to the health and well-being, let alone the economic viability of our country. Because if that is true, and if it's true that China want fresh, clean, green, if that's what they want, and if it's important that we can no longer go for public health to be importing this rubbish, then what does it mean about our prime agricultural land? What does it mean about polluting our water? What's it mean about mining the Liverpool plains? What's it mean about putting a mine in the Southern Highlands? South Korean mine, I'll give it a fashionable Australian name, call it Hume Coal. This is a mongrel Indian mob here. An Indian outfit. Oh, now we're calling ourselves Wollongong Coal. It gives it a respectability.
Shame.
You know, we've got to, if you take the Galilee Basin as an example, as to where the big stuff is, this is 9 mines in the Galilee Basin. Now, Newman's been beaten. This is not going to go ahead. But he gave the go-ahead to an Indian outfit. No one in India, the opposition, the government, and no bank in India would lend this Adani the money. Oh, yes, Newman would. He said, get hairs on his chest. Well, we'll lend you the money. 9 mines. How much water were they going to take out of the Great Artesian Basin? 2.5 Sydney harbours every year. For nothing.
Shame.
For nothing. This is where we are here. Can someone explain why the dam is half full?
Yep.
Can someone explain that? Where are you, Michael Baird? It's your job. You're the Premier.
Yay.
But I'm not persuaded that Luke Foley is able to do any different, because he was in government when they issued the licences. That's why Obeid and Co. and Sinodinos and these people are before ICAC. Why? What was the issue? Privatising water.
Yay.
Because it's become such a scarce commodity, someone can make a big quid out of it. Now, Michael Baird has to explain why we are ripping up prime agricultural land, why we are allowing the Planning Assessment Commission to consider whether we'll have a longwall mine, 9 of them. How many? 9, 11? I don't know, 9 is it? Well, we've already had 17 in the past. 300 metres from a dam which provides 10% of Sydney's water. Now, this is just common sense. I don't know what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a joke that we're trying to argue against something which is palpably ridiculous. And yet here we are here, we're in the Liverpool plains, at the place where I was complaining about. Just listen to these figures. The water that this new hope would take. See, the other thing is, this is the other thing. This mob all provide environmental impact statements. Now, the way to get over scrutiny is to make sure your environmental impact statement is 680 pages long. Because no one can read it, and the government admits they don't have the resources to scrutinise it.
Yeah.
So, tick it. Who ticks it? The Planning Assessment Commission. Who the hell are these people? I thought the Planning Assessment Commission was the government. I thought they were the people we elected. And if you can't scrutinise the project, you don't approve it. If I stood up here today and said, look, the biggest tragedy invading our society today, and I know you've all been victims of this tragedy, and I speak with urgency and sincerity, and it's cancer. But look, I've pioneered this medical prescription which will alleviate cancer, and I'm selling it for $110 a little capsule. Would anyone allow this to happen? They'd say, well, hang on, you better go and have this tested, and you better prove that anything you're suggesting is not injurious to health. You better prove that this is not deleterious to the well-being of the community. You just can't go out there and market something because you say it's going to be good to alleviate cancer. Well, how can these people walk in and just give an environmental impact statement? A licence is granted for money. The Labor Party gave it, McDonald and Co. The business on the Liverpool Plains, $300 million. They tipped up 300 million. Chenois, who own half of the best agricultural land in the world, and said, but listen, we'll give you another 200 if you give us the go-ahead straight away.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, some of these people ought to be in jail.
Yay.
Some of these people ought to be in jail. We are talking, and you've got to be confident of the ground you're on. The water we're talking about that they're taking, they get for nothing.
Yeah.
They get for nothing. Ackland, how much? 9 billion litres of water. Little old Ackland, out of the Great Artesian Basin, a litre for every person on the planet. A drawdown of the aquifers of 47 metres. We can't. This is just beyond comprehension. But for the Cataract Dam, we can read Gloucester. There they are at Gloucester, 300 metres from prime residential land, Forbesdale. Forbesdale was advertised in the Sydney Press. Come and retire to the Manning River Valley. It's beautiful stuff, lovely country like this. Come and retire and make it. And suddenly they did that. People did that. They downsized, and now they're living beside, well, they're not. It's going to be, this AGL mob are going to be booted out. Look, we're winning. That's the good news. We're winning. But, you know, what I'm saying is this is the window. Now, I'm going to be talking this week on air, and Jess, line yourself up because I must probably talk to you as well. But I'm going to talk to Julie on air. We've got to highlight all of this because I'm telling you what, the people who don't live anywhere near here, and the people who don't live in the Southern Highlands and Posco Coal, and the people who don't live on the Liverpool Plains, and who don't live at Gloucester, and don't live at Bentley in the Northern Rivers, hey, they are on side, I'm telling you. They are on side. It's just that they're too busy and they don't quite know what to do. But don't be seduced by promises. That's what O'Farrell said. The next Liberal National Government will ensure that mining can't occur, in any water catchment area. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And that mining leases and mining exploration permits reflect that common sense. The word you used, Julie, common sense. No ifs, no buts, a guarantee. Jess made the point earlier on, coal seam gas. You just finish up with an industrial wasteland. They'll tell us, we can coexist. We can rehabilitate the land. These are lies. When I spoke at Cecil Plains, at the back of a truck last year, as far as the eye could see was this magnificent black soil. You could eat it, black soil. Arrow Energy have got a licence for 40,000 coal seam gas wells on the Cecil Plains. So John Clapham's a farmer. And he said, well, I want to protest about all this. I want to read the environmental impact statement. He said to them, you send me the environmental impact statement. They did. It was put on his veranda. The environmental impact statement. Farmer. 27 kilos it weighed. He can't read it. No one in the bureaucracy can read it. So it's no use appealing to anything other. I mean, the bureaucracy are not on our side. They've approved this stuff under the previous government. O'Farrell comes in, and Baird, and the bureaucracy, Patterson, where are you, Mr. Patterson? Fighting like hell for the status quo to be maintained. And no one's got the guts to show Patterson the door. So this is a major battle. It is a mining invasion. This is the water, the agricultural, the health, the Kokoda, our dear man up there. This is, we fought there for our future. This is the future of our kids. This is our water. We want to toxify our water supply. We want to de-water the aquifers. Where do we finish up? And it's the most valuable commodity we've got, as well as the agricultural component, which goes hand in glove with it all. Look, I'm sorry I can't stay. I'm just delighted to be here. I've got to be somewhere else. And the bloke who's transporting me told me if I'm not there at 11:15 to pick him up, he won't be able to take me. But I'll just be interesting. I shouldn't say this, but I had to come in a helicopter, right? I paid for the bloody thing, but I had to come in a helicopter. But this is the interesting part. Because the helicopter is where is it? A scout camp, is it? Yeah, it's a scout camp. So it's flying around, and I suppose there's a worry that the helicopter will interfere with this lovely natural environment. We'd no sooner landed than there are two rangers. Please explain. Over a helicopter. Who's saying to Wollongong Coal, please explain? Who's arrived on the scene to monitor what they're doing?
Yay.
Or Hume Coal or whatever.
Yeah.
We're worrying about a piddling little helicopter. So look, you've got wonderful people. Caroline, where are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a star. You are an absolute star. And Julie, where is she? Just a
She's
got the
there,
car
she's
here.
got the car.
These people, Jess, you've been at it and at it and at it. But you know, we've got to make two judgments about Jess Moore here. You've heard her. Well, there's only two things that we can say about her. Either she's a liar. Well, no, but this is the point, isn't it? There's only two things we can say. She's either a liar or she's telling the truth. Take your pick. She made it quite clearly, 4 clear points. So did Julie did likewise. Now, there are a couple of representatives from political parties here. No one from the Liberal Party. That'd be typical. They don't want to know. The government want it too embarrassing, too difficult. Well, I'm telling you, you can forget about poles and wires. And Luke Foley's on the wrong tram there. Poles and wires are not going to be an election issue. This issue is going to be fought on the regions. And it's going to be fought in Gloucester. And it's going to be fought on the Liverpool Plains. It's going to be fought on the Central Coast. It's going to be fought down here. It's going to be fought in the Southern Highlands, where this mining invasion is afoot. And day after day, the government will be reminded of the O'Farrell promise. Honour the promise and we can go home. Keep at it. Lovely to see you. Thanks very much.